Yes, it's Wednesday, so hey, let's have Mr. Nailsin talk about comic books. And I'm going to talk about some comic books I read. But not all of them. It's way too many, and the show would go on too long. And, the other comic books were older comics that I will probably do something on at a later date. But anyway, continuing on with Batman versus Robin. This because Damian's upset at Daddy. And that left him open to the influence of this evil demonic force, the Devil Naza, which is a continuation or a follow-up to World's Finest, which remains the best superhero comic book available from one of the two main publishers, although that's rapidly fading in its significance and relevance. Unfortunately, but it's good. And this was a follow-up to that because Superman and Batman had to deal with this idiot and locked him away on an island. And then he slowly but surely lured poor little Damian in there, apparently spinning out of the death of Alfred the Butler, which of course was a mistake, but they'll retcon it at some point. But anyway, what's Batman doing wearing Dr. Fate's helmet? And boy, is Dr. Fate going to be pissed when he sees he put ears on it. Oh, well, it shapes itself to the host, I think. Something like that. Anyway, this is kind of the ultimate confrontation, and you'll find out what the whole thing was all about. So anyway, Batman last issue had to fight off all his previous Robins because they were also under the control of Naza through Damian. And now it's Damian in his idea of a future Batman suit. He actually looks kind of silly in it because he's a little boy. And oh, look, the Dr. Fate helmet. But all the magic people have been captured and their magic energy absorbed by Naza. And so he can take over and become the god of Earth and create a massive army to conquer the universe. I guess he just wants to become his own version of Darkseid or something like that. Anyway, so Batman's got to overcome all this, but he's all beaten down and stuff, but he's fighting for the soul of his son. So he's not going to give up. Plus, he's, Batman. Later on, his ace up his sleeve was, Damian's mommy, Talia. She, only she can possess her son and rule him over, not some demon. So she comes out to help Batman as Naza's about to put on Dr. Fate's helmet. And don't know why he didn't do it earlier. I guess they wasn't finished absorbing all the other wizards and witches and whatever. And so now it was right at the moment he was like, now I can begin my reign or whatever. And then she kicks it and, hey, look, Batman catches it. And ta-da! Now, I've already seen images of this for the Planet Lazarus series or event. Yeah, another one. They just wrapped up one, and then there'll be a one after Lazarus. It just never ends. Well, it'll end when the last 5 readers of DC Comics quit reading it. But anyway, so there it is, and of course it grows ears. So his mask will fit underneath. And so now that's what he needed to take on Naza. He needed the powers of Dr. Fate. Of course, Batman's not a magic guy. He's not familiar with it. But the spirits within will guide him on what to do. Well, he's only able to delay Naza for a bit. The helmet gets destroyed, seemingly. Of course, it'll reform. And then Naza decides to kill Robin for betraying him, because with the helmet, Batman was able to free Robin from the possession. And so now Robin's back to being, he was never good. Just not evil. And he's about to kill Robin, but Batman saves his son by taking the blast right into the chest, and I don't think the chest plate will save him. It doesn't. No, this is another issue of Batman where he seemingly dies. And Robin's like, oh, no. And then keeping in with the theme of fathers versus sons, turns out Naza grew to power by defeating his father. And now the only one he fears is his own son, who shows up. And good Lord, I'm guessing he doesn't get his looks from the mother's side of the family. And that's a mess, probably. I don't know. And, oh no, hey daddy. And they start fighting and everything. And the Lazarus Pit is just having a conniption fit over all of this. And, but this pig dude says there may be a way to save Batman. And, they do. Lazarus Pit stuff. And it works. And he's, so, he's good to go, more or less. They kind of have to guide him out. And this has all just been a setup for Lazarus Planet. So there you go. The Lazarus Pit explodes. And I guess there'll be people rising from the dead all over the world. And maybe they'll just go ahead and cross over and say deceased happened here. You know, I don't know. But that's all Batman versus Superman was. But it was mapped out and planned well. Well, more or less. The best of it was World's Finest, of course. Batman versus Superman has some interesting moments to it, but it was, I thought, too clustered with previous crap. That's not the fault of Wade or anything, but you know, what are you going to do? And then it's just a tie-in for the Lazarus Planet. Maybe I'll check that out. I can't promise I will, because again, sick to death of events and all that. So that's the deal. Basically, hey, I wonder how it ends with Batman versus Robin. Well, of course, neither one's going to kill the other. They're going to come together until they get upset and do another Batman versus Robin, probably within the next 5 minutes, to lead into some other event. And there you go. But was it worth the trouble? Not really. There's some cool moments here and there, but that's about it. And of course, it was only a prelude to yet another event. That will probably, I guess, resurrect some heroes they killed off 5 minutes ago, and then they'll come back or something. Probably Alfred will come back afterwards. Be a whole nother retcon and whatnot. It's just too many damn events. There's no point in getting invested in any of it, because it doesn't really matter, and that's unfortunate. All right, shifting gears to WildCATS, yet another reboot of WildCats. And anything Wildstorm related. Wildstorm, of course, being Jim Lee's baby that he created over at Image Comics and then sold it to DC. And the rest is history. He's become supposedly the grand poobah of DC Comics, but not really seeing a whole lot of evidence of that. I've seen other criticisms of these issues of the 1 and 2 of WildCats, which I'm going to cover here, that it's proof that Jim Lee is really deep in the woke, at least philosophically, rather than just going with the flow to stay in with the cool kids. I'm not so certain about it in the tone and manner of this story in total. It's trying to be a comedy, but you know, but then again, where will it go? You can suspect, you know, certain things. Basically, there's a gender swap that happens right in the middle of the story, from one of the characters that anyone who was interested in Wildstorm would probably be a bit upset about this. But I had a passing interest in Wildstorm. A lot of interesting things came about out of it. There was a lot of experiments later on. Originally, it was just Jim Lee's flashy art. The story was kind of a rip-off of X-Men and stuff like that. But later on, other people came in and contributed and had some interesting outings. You got Authority out of that. Stormwatch became Authority, and a lot of that was interesting and cool. And WildCats, when they got Travis Charest to do one of the reboots in the late 90s, I think it was actually 99 or something like that, the art was so damn beautiful and incredible to behold. The problem is it took too damn long to get to that level to create it. There was no way you're going to be able to do a monthly or even quarterly comic book series. And like the first issue was the only full one that he did. Then it was like, oh, he couldn't finish it, and they would have another artist come in and finish it up. But the artist was okay, adequate, you know, but not on par with Travis Charest. Or is it? I heard somebody say it's Sheree. Is it? I don't know. Travis, you know. He's a fantastic artist, but it takes a lot of time to get to that level and quality. But even his sketches and stuff, it's pretty damn good. But he's a guy who was kind of a Jim Lee clone and then found his own style and stuff. So it's just too bad he couldn't maintain a monthly book or what have you. But certainly he couldn't have done it on that level, but I didn't think he would necessarily need to. But what have you, WildCATS is an interesting story. It retells it about how, well, except for Cold Cash here, Grifter. No, that's Grifter. This is Spartan, he's in there, but they haven't exactly identified him yet. Grifter, and he had that silly rag for a mask, but I don't know, it worked. But the rest of them, they're the cherubim, I believe, and the Daemonites, angels and devils, and they were supposed to be the inspiration for the myths and stuff about angels and demons and all that type of thing. And it's another one of those things of ancient aliens being gods and all that, which is fine. But now that they're in DC, I think a better reboot would be that they're not a part of the DC universe, that they're back on their own world. Because in some of these, eventually you get to characters that are knockoffs of Superman and Batman and so forth. And it just doesn't, it works better when they're in their own world. But anyway, I will say this is a better attempt at a reboot than the previous one of Wildstorm, it was called, with Warren Ellis doing that. Well, we're way off here. Okay. It was Warren Ellis is a talented guy and everything. I know he's had his scandal because people slept with him thinking he could do something for them and he didn't. So now they're mad, I guess. But I don't know. Probably his best works are behind him, I'm sorry to say, because it was just so drab and bland and boring. And his Wildstorm series. This one, it's trying. I don't think it's quite there. There's some funny moments, and basically Grifter is the main funny guy here. At this point, why would Halo continue to employ him when he just keeps killing all the targets they have out of stupidity? It gets to the point of you have to answer that question, and they don't. So that's basically it. He's supposed to pick up this scientist, but he doesn't like him. He ends up killing him. This is one of the guards, and they have silly banter, and he's like convincing the guy to give up the fight, but then Zealot comes in, and chops his head off. Oh, well. Then here's the scientist they're supposed to get, but he's an evil scientist, so he just shoots him. And then here comes Nightwing. So they throw in the DC characters, and I just wish they weren't on the same world. Here's their latest version of Void. There was a previous reboot where she was something almost like an old pilot suit or something like that. The original Void was very sexy in her silver form-fitting suit. But in these enlightened days, we can't have that. So it is kind of interesting for her to be in this astronaut suit, and her face is just a skull now. But whatever. But I suspect that that's more of the rules of today. And to be safe, they wear their masks. I don't know. Does Void stink? But anyway, here other DC characters being weaved in. This is Dr. Freeze's wife. Now she's Mrs. Freeze. So she freezes people too. I haven't kept up on Dr. Freeze, so I don't know, but this shouldn't bother. And so here's the deal that got people upset. Deathblow, which was always a man, but when he got killed, his brain could be transplanted into another body. Well, now, of course, he's transplanted into a supermodel's body. And he's the only one in the room who stands up for Grifter, and Grifter is like, "Who's this?" "Well, that's Michael." "Whoa, Michael's hot now." So the suspicion is that they'll have a romance between the two, and then Michael will get killed and be put back into a male body. Will they still be in love? And so Grifter can be gay now. Yeah, I guess. It is probably. I don't know. But that would be pretty stupid. But anyway, I think this is done for the joke, but it's the current era. So if you're doing it for the joke, you'd be in a lot of trouble. But trouble with who? Do they really have any power anymore? Yeah, if they want them to. So there's another shot of Void, and that's what her face looks like now. Still want to date her? No. So anyway, and more Void and all that. And this one disturbed me more than anything else. Fairchild of Gen 13 is now a member of the team, but she's a little kid. And then she powers up. Let's see, they're still in their fight. Oh, this is where I'm all mixed up here. I'm sorry about that. That's where Deathblow gets killed and so becomes a woman. So here's, Fairchild. And was just a little kid a second ago, and now, see, it'd be different if she was still, an adult, but just was, rather thin and skinny and stuff, and not as big, sort of like, She-Hulk, is how it was originally. Although once she got her powers, that was her permanently. But now apparently she can only change into her superpowered self for a little while, and then she burns out and has to take a nap. But she's a little kid. Yeah, disturbing. Yeah, that's the deal. So anyway, and they encounter the Court of Owls, so I guess they're going to continue on with Batman villains showing up in WildCATS, because, if you don't have Batman involved in your DC comic, you might as well not exist. So, so here you go. They introduced more of the other characters. In the Flash, Maul showed up, so it was talking about that wrestling scenario they had in the Flash comic, and it was people from all across the multiverse. And I held out hope that meant that he was from his own world, like there was a Wildstorm Earth, and there's no Batman or Superman on that world. No, still on the Batman Superman world. Because look who's one of the other members, Mr. Majestic, who is a Superman knockoff, So anyway, and Seven Soldiers of Victory, of course, is a reference to a DC group that has nothing to do with WildCATS, but now it will for about 5 minutes, and when they forget about it and move on. But anyway, there you go, WildCATS. I can't promise I'll tell you about issue 3. I've seen worst efforts, though. I have, so there you go, WildCATS. Have I ever told you that I think World's Finest is the best damn superhero comic on the stands today? Well, it is. And 10 issues, and it hasn't let me down, although Wade and Mora they're moving on. They'll be doing Shazam soon. So, don't know who follows them. Hopefully they can pick up the baton and keep it going, but we'll have to see. But anyway, this is I knew they were going to have some revelation about Boy Thunder here. And I just thought, it was going to be revealed he's like another Lex Luthor or something like that, or his son, or some kind of other villain involved thing, but not quite what I thought, and should have known. It's Mark Waid after all. So Boy Thunder got kidnapped by Joker and the Key, and he's torturing him, wanting him to reveal the secret identities of Superman and Batman. Well, it's not working out. Meanwhile, the Key's got other things that he's wanting to know, and just happens to kind of find out something about him by accident as they're talking, and you're like, wait a minute, you're from a parallel world? So I've managed to accidentally find the key to the multiverse? He tells his origin and everything in it as well, and explains what he's about. And so, hey, it kind of worked out for him. Meanwhile, Batman and Superman and the Teen Titans are looking for Boy Thunder, and they track them down to this warehouse and discover, well, the Key's messed up. Things are in between dimensions and whatnot, and they got to go through these different doors, but they could be very dangerous. Here's Robin trying to shut a door that has a bunch of reptiles coming out of it. And, but Superman is able to locate the one they need to go to because he's got super eyes. So they find it and they encounter it, and Joker is beating Boy Thunder, and Superman's not happy about that. And they show up on him and all of that, and fighting ensues. But Boy Thunder is really mad at Joker for torturing him. You know, that tends to happen. So he's looking for revenge, and they're trying to, well, it's not the superhero way. He doesn't care. And he's chasing after Joker after he's freed from the trap that the Key put him in, and he's got his full powers back. Meanwhile, they've got this Lovecraftian thing out of another dimension to fight back into the door and lock it. So they're a little busy as Boy Thunder decides to kill the Joker, or at least give him a dose of his own medicine. Robin's like, David, no! And well, no, he's a piece of shit. You know, and hey, who's going to argue with Boy Thunder here? Well, I mean, you know, the rules will argue with him, but so anyway, I don't, if I ever lay eyes on him again, I'll kill you. If it's tomorrow or 20 years from now, then that should be your clue as to the mystery of who is Boy Thunder. And the writer's Mark Waid. Yeah. So, spoiler warning, I'm going to go ahead and reveal it to you. You've been warned. You've been warned. Oh, look, it's Magog. So, if you are a fan, and you should be, of Kingdom Come, you know Magog killed the Joker in this future setting. And Superman has a ponytail. And he flies in just in the nick of time. Well, not the nick of time, a little too late. And Magog has killed him. But Joker was a sick homicidal maniac. He had already killed Lois Lane and all this stuff. And Magog kills him. And he becomes the new hero of the new age because people in polling data agree with his solution to crime. And Superman walks away because he's not about killing. And that's one of the main plot points of the story and all of that. And that, you know, that this new age of superheroes is not for Superman, although he has to come out of retirement and teach these kids how it's done. And that was the interesting part about it. But what this is here, where Boy Thunder grows up to become Magog, they'd done a previous story about Magog and stuff and tried to weave him in to the DC universe, but maybe this will be a better way and suggest that this is his ultimate future. Of course, with multiverse, there could be different ways it happens. But at this point, it's kind of seemingly suggesting that the current mainstream DC universe, its future is Kingdom Come. So, at least by this. So that's his identity. That's who he is, or who he will be. And it plays into that story about this generation gap between superheroes and the older superheroes having to rein in the kids because they're getting out of hand, which was the more interesting aspect of Kingdom Come is that it would have been better, I think, if it had gone on for much longer issues to tell out that story, to give it more time than it needed. But of course, with Alex Ross painting it, probably would take too long. He wouldn't be able to do it on time. Even though he later did do a 12-issue with Justice League, but that was another artist doing the pencils, and he painted over it. Looks like Alex Ross's work, but still, I guess that helped speed up the time they could do to produce the art for it. But anyway, so 10 issues and quite a spectacular little surprise payoff for it. So a good run. Don't know what 11 brings, and we will see. And hopefully they can find a team on par with this. It's kind of hard to find anybody these days to continue and follow this up. It's going to be kind of tough to do. So, yeah, World's Finest was indeed World's Finest for superhero comic books in 2022.